Hey everyone, I'm gonna go over my Lethal CoC Flash Carino build for you. What started out as a meme ended up turning pretty good. So here we go, let's take a look. We're gonna start off in the talents. All right, you're gonna go God of War. You're gonna pick up some damage. You're gonna grab your critical strike rating. You're gonna come down here and grab some life and armor. Down here, you're gonna grab your attack and cast speed. You're gonna dip down, get some more cast and critical strike damage. At this point, you're gonna have to put one or 2 points down into your max life. You're gonna grab over here your chance for projectile spell skills, and spell skills have 100% skill radius. And then you're gonna finish out till you get 20 points. Once you have 20 points, you're gonna pick up Cohesion. If you feel like you're dying too much, you can pick up Determined. And this acts as like a cheat death every 8 seconds. So if you feel like you're dying too much, use this. Otherwise, you're going to pick up Cohesion. And then we're going to grab Endless Favor, as the build is centered around fervor. So you're going to want to grab this. All right. Once you have 20 points, you're going to move on to the next tree. Later on, you're going to come back and finish this tree out. Here in Shadow Dancer, you're going to start off with your attack and cast speed. You're going to move over to your damage for triggered skills. You're going to pick up your crit strike rating, crit strike damage. Now this part's important because you're going to grab your damage for triggered skills, right? But over here, you want to make sure you save 2 points and you put both of these in at the same time. Because if you put one up here, you actually lose damage. If you put only this one in, you actually lose damage. You need both of them and you get a small boost. Then you're going to come down here, you're going to grab the bottom line. You're going to finish off with the sealed mana and sealed mana for triggered skills. Later on, you're going to come back for the fervor effect and movement per 15 fervor. As for the major nodes, you're going to grab Continuum and Hair Trigger. Finally, we're going to end up in Warlock. This tree is very important for the build, and I'll go over some details here. You're going to grab some damage. You're going to grab attack and cast speed. Down here, you have your critical strike rating, your max mana, and minus sealed mana. Now, this is important. We need the minus sealed mana. Over here, you're going to grab your Empower effect and Empower skill effect. Mind you, I did grab this later in the tree, so you don't have to prioritize it, but it is really good. We're going to get 36% damage and some more chance to deal double damage. Cooldown recovery speed is very, very important, so prioritize picking that up. Here, you're going to grab more damage, some attack and cast speed, your all skill levels. You're going to grab movement speed while blur is active, and then you're going to grab this for 100% to gain blur on defeat, so this will make you move faster. Finally, we're going to grab some ailment damage and 12% damage on hit per type of ailment owned, and we'll go over that in a minute. For your talents, you're going to grab Merciless. What this does is it allows 15% of bonuses or reductions to attack speed, and also down here it repeats the same sentence but for cast speed. So essentially your attack speed and your cast speed both separately will combine to your cooldown recovery speed. And like we said, that is very important. All right. Finally, we're going to end with Dirty Tricks. You're guaranteed to inflict all types of ailments on hit. Each ailment on the target grants 7% additional damage. Well, we're going to apply all the ailments, which are going to include Frostbite, Shock, Ignite. I drew a blank there. Ignite, Bleed, and Wilt. So that's going to equal 5 of them. So 7 times 5, 35% additional damage. Combo that with this one, now doing 60% damage. So there's your talent tree. All right, now we're going to go over our skill set. We're going to have Savage Charge here with increased critical strike rating, hardened, and add erosion damage. Now this add erosion damage will give us our base wilt, therefore we can apply our wilts. We're going to have our Frigid Transmission with quick mobility and cost conversion. We're going to have Electrocute with Abysmal Hatred. We're going to have Resurrection Warcry, Powerful Warcry, and Lion's Roar. We're going to have Blizzard with Mark, added fire damage. This will give us our base Ignite, so we can apply Ignite. And then we're going to end it with a Carpet Bomber to get an extra wave. Blizzard is essentially working as a utility tool, applying a debuff, a damage ailment, and this will extend the waves to keep the utility and the debuffs and buffs active more often. We're going to round down here with a Precise Auto Defense. It doesn't need to be precise, but why not? You're going to use Protection Field, Frost Shield, And Frost Shield's where we're gonna get our chance to frostbite enemies. We're gonna put that on our seal conversion. So this is gonna be reserved on our life. And we're gonna use a precise swiftness. Now this is also important. It has to be precise swiftness to get the cooldown recovery speed. Movement speed is nice and all, don't get me wrong, but this cooldown recovery speed is much more important. We're gonna have a death pact. Again, I have precise death pact. It doesn't need to be, but why not? We're gonna have a fixate, a soul eating circle, and these two are linked to our death pack and they will be auto casting for us. We're gonna use acuteness imbue. This will give us our base bleed, and a summon flame spirit to increase our attack critical strike rating. Finally, you have two choices for this slot here. I'm currently using precise elemental resistance because this build kind of struggles with resistance, and while you're leveling, it helps keep you alive a little bit. So I recommend using it while you're leveling. However, if you're all about that big dick damage, then we have precise elemental amplification, and that'll just give us more elemental damage and the spell skills can penetrate. That's right, the CoC Box build gets to penetrate. Spell skills, 4% elemental resistance. Finally, the main player in the build, the reason we're all here, the CoC, also known as Cast On Critical Strike. We're gonna link that up with Sparkle. This would be the balls of the build. Sparkle shoots out a bunch of little balls, and it's really fun. We're gonna have this linked up with Electrical Overload, Lightning Penetration, because what kind of lightning CoC build doesn't penetrate, right? Then finally, we're gonna end up with slow projectiles. And this is important. You don't want wind projectiles. You need them to be slowed so the sparkle balls sit in the same spot longer and do multiple hits on the same target. Finally, we're gonna have ailment termination because we're applying all the elements. This will give us a lot more damage. Set 14, this skill that deals 14.3% additional damage per type of ailment. That's 5 times. That's additional damage. That's bananas. It's really good. Also, point of note here, make sure you're using precise cast on critical. This one is important, and you cannot do this without it. On top of that, it'll give you a big fat 610% additional damage, and that's bananas. All right, we're gonna go over our hero traits and our memories now. Our hero trait, we have no choice, mobile reload. For this one up here, we're gonna grab precise hit. We're now gonna grab Into the Deadland. All right. Now, finally, we're gonna grab Evil Ouroboros, and this will allow our projectiles to shoot out and come back, and shoot out and come back. And luckily, we have slow projectiles, so they don't go that far and they don't come back that far. So if they're just gonna sit on that enemy for longer and longer and longer, unloading lots of damage. We're gonna grab this, Desperate Measures. You no longer reload the ammo. When you use mobility skills, you deal less damage, and you're like, Mike, why are you grabbing less damage? Well, now your projectile skills will consume all your ammo, and each ammo consumed is 40% additional for every one. So we lost 25 originally, but every ammo is now adding 40. That's bananas, all right? We're gonna go over to our relic here. You want at least a 3 engrammed relic, as much hero memory effect as you can get. The higher the better. It goes up to 60. And then 20, honestly, the bottom mod doesn't matter. So if you find a good one, great. But if you're just trying to get by, the most important thing you need here is the 58%, or just the highest hero memory effect you can get. The bottom mod, not as important. But if you see a nice one for cheap, grab it. If you want to ball out, get the good stuff. You're now going to use 3 of the same memories here. It's called the Weeping Family Silver Bullet. This will give you 30% reload speed for every Weeping Family Silver Bullet engraved. Well, you have 3 of them. This is now dealing 90% reload speed. Guess what? This one's also doing 90% reload speed. Guess what? This one's also doing 9. You see the pattern here? It's bananas. And all of those are being magnified by our hero memory effect. So it's essentially like we have 4.5 of these on. It's really, really good. And then, because we're now focused on our reload speed, that combos with this. Now we shoot our bullets out, and then all the ammo gets reloaded, and we get to keep shooting. We'll show you how the build works over here. All you got to do is push one button, and you see all the sparkle balls coming out. There you go. Finally, we're going to go over the gear. Most importantly is the box. You can't have a CoC Box build without the box. This is the most important thing. I recommend getting it first. This build does not work without the box. All right, any box will do. The cheapest one you find. This is not important. It really doesn't matter. Just grab the cheapest one you can find. If you have a little extra money, yes, there are better boxes, such as elevated versions of the skills, maybe a different, better implicit. It's up to you. I recommend just grabbing the cheapest box. You're good to go. Other important item is the Eye of Kraken. Again, not as important here. Any Eye of Kraken will do. Just grab the cheapest one you can, and guess what? They're very cheap. Finally, the third item that's mandatory is your staff. You're going to use a Sage's staff. The higher the implicit you can get here, the critical strike rating, the better. Don't stress too much about it, but I recommend getting at least 60 plus. You're going to add lightning damage to your spells. You're going to get minus additional cast speed, but additional spell damage. Now, this doesn't need to be elevated, so don't freak out. It's not that important, but it is very nice if you can get it. As well as 3 spell skill levels, cooldown recovery speed, spell critical strike damage, and off the beaten track. Once you have these 3 items here, you're ready to start playing the build. Without these 3 items, I do not recommend even attempting it. So make sure you go out of your way to get these 3 items, and then you're ready to use the build. As for the chest, you're going to want to add some life. I recommend using the Fallen Knight armor to get extra elemental resistance, because we're struggling for that with this build. You're going to get life, regenerates more life, 2 active skill levels, erosion, elemental resistance, and then as for this one here, you're going to do a balancing act. And what that means is on your infinity, you're going to want to try and get resistance on it. I didn't get it, but as you can see, I'm trying to. So if you were to get cold resistance, you would put lightning resistance on there. This one has erosion resistance. At that case, you can put whatever you want. The point I'm trying to make is you want to balance your resistance on this chest. It does not need to be fire. So calculate your resistance and put the one that you have the least of on your chest. Ghost Slaughter. This is the most expensive part currently in the build, other than the Ralph's boots. And ideally, you're looking for these double erosions. This one is the most important. So if you only get a single erosion, you want this one. This will give fervor gains an additional base effect of 1% additional damage per 2 fervor rating. We get 100 fervor rating. That's 50% additional damage. This will make you take less damage, which will make you survive longer. Not as important, but really nice to get. If you're looking for a cheaper option in your gloves, you got a few options here. All right, and this is just temporary while you save money for Ghost Slaughter. You can use Marker the Thrill, super cheap. You can grab them from 1 to 5 FE usually. They give you fervor effect, some life. That's about all you're really getting here. Not the end of the world. Well, since you only care about fervor, you can check the auction house. I was able to find these gloves for 5 FE. They came with 1, 2, 3, and 4 mods. I then went to craft and slammed on some erosion. I got that in like 4 rolls. It's not perfect, but either is the rest of these gloves, so I slammed that on. I went and added the enchant here for some extra life, and there you go. I now have a pair of gloves for 5 FE that's giving me 72% fervor effect. So when you go to the auction house, that's all you need to look for. The rest doesn't matter. And you can pick up a cheap pair and use those until you get your Ghost Slaughter. For infinity, the most important things you're looking for are rushed and damage penetration. All right. And as I said, 1 layer of resistance is very important. I could not find one at the time, so I grabbed the elemental damage and the reaps and the tenacity. Tenacity, really trivial, not really a part of the build that much, so that's kind of dead. Reaps is extra. We're not focused about reaping our ailments. We just want to apply the ailments to deal more damage. Reaping might actually be hurting us a little bit, to be honest with you, but it was in the belt, so I'm playing around with it. Elemental damage is nice, but also not the most mandatory thing. Main things you're looking for here are rushed, damage penetrates, elemental resistance. Like I can't stress this enough. This build loves to penetrate. It is a CoC build after all. And then any resistance you can get. Once you have resistance here, the more the better. Erosion with elemental. Oh my god, you're a Giga Chad. Then you can balance out your resistance on your chest. Finally, we have our boots. As you can see, we got a few options here. The higher you go, the more money you're gonna spend. So right out the gate, we'll start with the cheap baby Ralphs. Any pair of corroded Ralphs will work. I was able to grab these ones here. They're garbage, corroded, failed, missed, 15 FE. I was able to pick these up for. All right, so you can pick these up really cheap. They're okay. If you want to upgrade a little bit, here's another cheap option. If you can't afford the Ralphs at 15 FE, you're going to go over here and look for as much move speed and life as you can. I believe I picked these up for 5 FE at the time. I probably should have just bought these for 15, but here we are. I got these for 5 FE. If you want to upgrade your baby Ralphs, we'll call them here, you can now do your crafted pair of boots. Here, you want to get the lightning and cold resistance base. If that's a little too expensive of a base for you, you can get just the lightning resistance one. That's really cheap, common. You'll get it for 1 FE. Here, you're going to start crafting regeneration of life, elemental damage, +1 lightning skill level, 36 erosion resistance. Doesn't have to be 36, just erosion resistance. Now, this is where you put on your 2 restless mods. Movement speed, own 1 additional stack of agility blessing, and cooldown recovery speed, because very important for our cooldown recovery. Now, you don't need these elevated, but it helps a lot. These are the best 2 you can get is probably plus lightning skill and cooldown recovery. I like move speed. It makes me go faster. It's really cool. Finally, if you want to upgrade these, you go to Big Ralph. We call this Big Ralph. And this one here Fervor gains an additional base effect +1 movement and attack and cast speed for every 3 Fervor rating. You want to be a Giga Chad Ralph, you get this elevated as well. If you can get both of these elevated, yeah, I haven't even tested it, but it's going to be off the charts insane. It's really good. For your chaotic ending ring, the main thing you're looking for here is Fervor effect, chance to gain agility blessing, and then you have 2 options. If you want to be tanky, you go chance to gain tenacity. If you want to deal more damage, you go chance to gain focus blessing. But the main 2 you must have on here are Fervor effect and agility blessing. Keep in mind, the higher the Fervor effect, the better, and then the higher up here helps, but don't stress out too much about it. Finally, we got this. It is now the Prisoner Ring. This I bought cheap. I found it for 100 FE. I got lucky. The base alone cost about 80 FE, so the fact that I had this fully crafted with the stuff I needed for 100, I scooped it up. However, you do not need the spell damage. You do not need the projectile damage. Yes, we do spell damage. Yes, we do projectile damage, so this actually does help us. But ideally, what you're looking for here is max life and regeneration, because, you know, more life, more regeneration makes you tankier. If you really want, you can throw these 2 on as well. I'm pretty tanky already. I haven't had a problem with it, so maybe it's actually better to get the damage. Play around with it, you decide for yourself. But these 4 are mandatory on this ring. You want to add the lightning damage to attacks and spells. You want critical strike rating on here. Very important that it's rating. And then you want elemental resistance, erosion resistance, and then also erosion resistance. Finally, we're going to end up with Sage's Staff. Here you're going to craft it. I think we went over this, but we're going to go over it again just to be sure. You got 65 critical strike rating. You're going to add the lightning damage to it, additional cast. This one you don't need to be elevated. Spells, cooldown recovery. Here you want spell critical strike damage, not rating here. Rating on the ring, damage on the staff. Finally, off the beaten track. And there you guys go. That is the Cock and Balls build. So hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully this can help. And good luck with your adventures. I'm going to go in here and blast the tier 8 map to show you what's up and let you enjoy the one-click build of fun. Maybe we can get a trial of might and make it more interesting. So once you get in, all you got to do is hold down your mouse and let her go. Collect the loot and have fun. And there you guys go. All right, guys. Hopefully you enjoy Mike1Up's Lethal Flash Carino build. If you enjoyed it, be sure to follow and sub the YouTube and join me live on Twitch at Mike1Up. Take it easy, guys. Have a good one.